Imagine a president defying the world's highest court while his people bury their dead. In July 2025, Kenya's streets burned with rage, and President William Ruto stood unapologetic, dismissing the ICC as a Western puppet. 70 lives lost, hundreds injured, and a nation in mourning, yet Ruto called it sovereignty. But from Burkina Faso, a new voice rose. Captain Ibrahim Traoré proposed a radical idea, a People's African Court to hold leaders like Ruto accountable. This isn't just Kenya's story, it's Africa's reckoning with justice. Will Ruto escape again as he did in 2013? Can Traoré's vision change a continent? Stay with us, because what I'm about to reveal will make you question everything you thought you knew about power and justice in Africa. But the truth behind this crisis is even more shocking. In June 2025, Kenya erupted. A new budget proposal slammed citizens with taxes on essentials, fuel, bread, internet, even diapers. For a nation already crushed by inflation, it was a breaking point. By June 17, tens of thousands flooded the streets from Nairobi to Mombasa, chanting for dignity and survival. Students, mothers, workers, elders, ordinary Kenyans demanded their voices be heard. But the response was brutal. Police fired live rounds into crowds. Videos showed a child screaming beside her unconscious mother in Githurai, women dragged into armored vehicles in Milimani. By early July, the toll was staggering: 70 dead, 553 injured, 532 arrested, many without charges. Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International condemned the violence, but President William Ruto's government stayed silent. On July 4th, Ruto took to national TV not to mourn, but to attack. He called the ICC's investigation into his actions a Western plot, declaring Kenya would not kneel. Meanwhile, vigils lit up Nairobi's Uhuru Park with candles beside photos of the fallen. This wasn't just about taxes anymore. It was a fight for accountability. Across the continent, Burkina Faso's Captain Ibrahim Traoré watched. At a summit in Ouagadougou, he unveiled a bold vision, a People's African Court to deliver justice where global systems failed. This court would target leaders who crush protest corporations exploiting resources and foreign powers meddling in African affairs. The contrast was stark. Ruto's defiance versus Traoré's call for justice. Kenya's protests exposed a deeper wound: when leaders turn on their people, who holds them accountable? But this is just the tip of the iceberg. The streets of Nairobi tell a story of betrayal. In June 2025, Kenya's protests began as a cry against crippling taxes, but grew into a demand for justice. President William Ruto, once a symbol of reform, now faces accusations of authorizing violence that killed 70 and injured over 500. Videos of police firing into crowds of mothers weeping over fallen sons spread like wildfire across social media. In Umoja, a candlelight vigil honored the dead with empty school bags beside flickering flames, a silent scream for accountability. Human Rights Watch reported 532 arrests, many without charges, while murals of resistance painted Nairobi's walls. Yet Ruto's July 4th broadcast stunned the world. Flanked by generals, he didn't apologize. He attacked the ICC, calling it a Western tool, and vowed, "No foreign court will judge me." This wasn't new. In 2013, as Deputy President, Ruto faced ICC charges for post-election violence that killed over 1,000. Witnesses vanished, evidence crumbled, and the case collapsed. He walked free, but Kenya's trust in justice didn't. Now in 2025, history echoes. Protesters in Eldoret, once Ruto's stronghold, scrawled graffiti: "He was our son, but not our voice." The ICC's preliminary review into the 2025 crackdown sparked hope, but for many Kenyans, it's too little too late. A mother in Kibera asked, "Why did they wait until we buried our sons?" Keep this number in mind: 70 lives lost, because it's about to change everything. Across the continent, a different voice emerged. In Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré addressed regional leaders in Ouagadougou, not with empty promises, but with a vision. His proposal for a People's African Court shook the room. This court wouldn't shield presidents or bow to global powers. It would prosecute leaders who crush protests, corporations exploiting Africa's resources, and foreign interventions destabilizing nations. Traore's words were clear. This is about protecting our people. Built on African soil using Mosi and Dioula. Inspired designs, the court would face east, symbolizing transparency. Judges would be chosen by civil society, not governments, to break the grip of power. Mali, Niger, and Congo pledged support, while Ghana's lawyers called it Africa's Nuremberg. Social media erupted, protesters dubbed it our court. Our voice. Traore's plan isn't just a building, it's a challenge to a system that's failed Africa for decades. Picture this: a courtroom where the powerful can't hide, where a mother's tears carry more weight than a president's flag. Can it work? Ruto's defiance and Traore's vision clash at a critical moment. The ICC, meant to deliver impartial justice, has targeted African leaders in over two-thirds of its cases since 2002, yet ignored Western actions in Iraq or Libya. Scholars in Lagos point out the pattern: nations aligned with NATO rarely face scrutiny. In Nairobi, signs read, "The ICC sees color, not crime." Traore's court aims to fix this, prioritizing African victims over global politics, but Ruto's history suggests he'll fight back. After his 2013 acquittal, his administration tightened media control and surveilled opposition. In 2022, journalists faced cyber attacks. In 2024, students were detained for peaceful protests. Now, with 70 dead, Ruto's July 4 speech doubled down: Kenya will not kneel. For Kenyans, it's not just arrogance, it's abandonment. Traore, meanwhile, offers hope. But the question lingers: can Africa build justice when power fights to stay untouchable? But the story doesn't end here. Remember those 70 lives lost? Here's why they're a symptom of a much bigger crisis. Kenya's 2025 protests expose a fracture in the heart of African governance. President William Ruto's defiance of the ICC isn't just a personal stand. It's a symptom of a system where power often outruns accountability. His July 4th speech dismissing the ICC as a Western tool resonates with a continent wary of foreign intervention. But it also shields his actions: 70 killed, 553 injured, 532 arrested in a crackdown that turned Nairobi's streets into battlegrounds. Ruto's history amplifies the stakes. In 2013, his ICC case for post-election violence collapsed amid witness tampering and political pressure. No convictions, no apologies, just a tightened grip on power. Since then, his administration has muzzled journalists, surveilled opponents, and detained students, creating a chilling pattern: dissent equals danger. For Kenyans, Ruto's words aren't just defiance, they're a declaration that justice is optional. On the other side, Captain Ibrahim Traore's People's African Court offers a radical counterpoint. His vision, born in Ouagadougou's Summit Hall, challenges not just Ruto, but a global order that's failed Africa. The ICC's record fuels Traore's case. Over two-thirds of its 30-plus cases since 2002 target Africans, while Western leaders escape scrutiny for actions in Iraq or Libya. In Mali, French corporations extract gold with minimal accountability, yet no ICC indictments follow. Nairobi protesters hold signs reading, "The ICC sees color, not crime," echoing scholars in Lagos who see a court shaped by NATO's interests. Traore's court, built on African soil with judges free from governmental ties, aims to break this cycle. It targets three evils: leaders who crush protests, corporations exploiting resources, and foreign powers destabilizing nations. Support from Mali, Niger, and Congo signals a growing hunger for self-determined justice. But what happens when this court tries to indict a sitting president? Hold that thought. The stakes ripple beyond Kenya and Burkina Faso. For protesters in Nairobi, Ruto's impunity is personal. Mothers in Uhuru Park light candles for sons lost to police bullets. For regional leaders, Traore's court is a gamble. It could empower citizens or threaten their own power. Civil society, from Ghana's lawyers to Dakar's activists, sees hope in a court that listens to victims, not donors. But risks loom. Funding is a hurdle. Donor nations may demand concessions, while African governments might hesitate to back a court that could turn on them. Judges face threats in a continent where power often strikes back, and Ruto's defiance sets a precedent. If he escapes accountability again, others may follow. Kenya, once East Africa's democratic beacon, now teeters. Its 2025 protests aren't just about taxes, they're a reckoning with a system where leaders act as sovereigns, not servants. If you think this tension is high, wait until you hear what could happen next. The clash between Ruto and Traore isn't just ideological, it's existential. Ruto's Kenya thrives on control, where media cyber attacks in 2022 and student detentions in 2024 show a state allergic to dissent. Traore's Burkina Faso, by contrast, bets on a court built from redstone facing east for transparency, symbolizing a new dawn. But can it deliver? Critics call it symbolic theater, fearing it could become a tool for vendettas. Others, like Ghana's Independent Bar Association, call it Africa's Nuremberg, a chance to rewrite justice. The continent watches as Kenya buries its dead, and Burkina Faso lays a foundation stone. Two visions collide, one where power silences, another where people speak. The outcome will shape not just Kenya or Burkina Faso, but Africa's trust in itself to deliver justice when global courts falter. And this is where the story takes a darker turn. Kenya's 2025 protests are not just a national crisis. They're a symptom of Africa's long battle against unchecked power. President William Ruto's defiance of the ICC, dismissing it as a Western tool after 70 deaths and 553 injuries in protests, mirrors a continental frustration. In 2013, Ruto faced ICC charges for post-election violence that left over 1,000 dead and 600,000 displaced. That case collapsed, witnesses disappeared, evidence eroded, and accountability vanished. Today, his administration's tactics, media cyber attacks in 2022, student detentions in 2024 show a pattern of silencing dissent. His July 4th speech vowing, "No foreign court will judge me," resonates with Africans skeptical of global justice, but also shields his actions. The ICC's record fuels this distrust. Since 2002, over two-thirds of its 30-plus cases have targeted Africans, from Sudan's Omar al-Bashir to Côte d'Ivoire's Laurent Gbagbo. Yet Western leaders faced no charges for Iraq's 300,000 civilian deaths or Libya's fracture after NATO's 2011 campaign. Protesters in Nairobi hold signs, "The ICC sees color, not crime." Captain Ibrahim Traoré's People's African Court, announced in Ouagadougou, rises from this betrayal. His vision taps into a shared African pain. Sudan's war, Congo's plundered resources, Mali's exploited goldfields. The ICC ignored French corporations mining Mali's wealth amid local protests, just as it overlooked NATO's role in Libya's chaos while charging only Muammar Gaddafi. Traoré's court, rooted in African values with Mossi and Dioula, designs promises to confront three scourges: leaders who crush protests, corporations exploiting land, and foreign powers destabilizing nations. Mali, Niger, and Congo back it. Ghana's lawyers call it Africa's Nuremberg. This isn't new. Ghana's 1957 independence, Burkina Faso's Sankara era, and South Africa's anti-apartheid fight all demanded self-determined justice. Now, from Dakar's airwaves to Cameroon's law schools, Africans rally for a court that knows their rivers, their grief, their names. This will break your heart when mothers mourn and courts stay silent. Africa's hope hangs by a thread. History, however, casts shadows. The African Union's 2008 court meant to try war crime stalls under political pressure and funding woes. Ruto's 2013 escape showed how power can derail justice. Witnesses intimidated, evidence lost. His current regime, with its crackdowns and surveillance, thrives on control. If Traoré's court indicts a leader like Ruto, will it withstand retaliation? Funding is a hurdle donor. Nations may demand strings, while African states might balk at a court that could turn on them. Colonial courts once served empires. Post-independence regimes often copied that impunity. Yet Traoré's plan, backed by civil society, not presidents, offers hope. In Nairobi, candles burn in Uhuru Park for the 70 lost. In Eldoret, graffiti mourns a leader who betrayed his roots. This court could be Africa's chance to break the cycle. But what comes next will leave you speechless. The global stakes are immense. If Traore's court succeeds, it could inspire Latin America or Asia to challenge biased global systems. In Paris, diaspora groups chant "Justice for the people by the people." In Atlanta, Black scholars see a new legal dawn. But failure risks cementing despair, proving skeptics right who call it symbolic theater. Kenya's protests, with their murals and vigils, mark a continent at a crossroads. Ruto's defiance represents an old order power cloaked in sovereignty. Traore's court, set to rise in September 2025, offers a new path, justice born from African soil, not foreign halls. As Kenya buries its dead and Burkina Faso lays its foundation, the world watches. Can Africa forge a justice that listens to its people, or will silence prevail again? This is when I discovered something that shouldn't exist, a continent daring to judge its own. As Kenya mourns and Burkina Faso builds, the future of African justice hangs in the balance. President William Ruto's defiance of the ICC, coupled with 70 deaths and 553 injuries in Kenya's 2025 protests, signals a dangerous precedent. If Ruto escapes accountability again, as he did in 2013, other leaders may follow, entrenching impunity across the continent. His administration's history, media, cyber attacks in 2022, student detentions in 2024 suggests a state ready to silence dissent at any cost. If the ICC hesitates, as it did a decade ago when witnesses vanished, Kenya risks becoming a symbol of justice denied. Protesters' signs in Nairobi reading, "The ICC sees color, not crime," reflect a growing fear. Global courts may never deliver for Africa. Without action, Kenya's vigils in Uhuru Park and graffiti in Eldoret could mark not just mourning, but the death of democratic hope. Contrast that with Captain Ibrahim Traore's vision. His People's African Court, set to break ground in September 2025 on 14 hectares of Burkina Faso's Redstone, promises a new era designed with Mossi and Dioula traditions facing east. For transparency, it's more than a building, it's a movement. Mali, Niger, and Congo back it, while Ghana's lawyers call it Africa's Nuremberg. The court's three pillars, prosecuting repressive leaders, exploitative corporations, and foreign meddlers, could reshape accountability. Imagine Ruto facing trial in Ouagadougou, not The Hague, judged by Africans who know the weight of a mother's tears. Or multinational corporations like those mining Mali's gold, answering for environmental ruin. Success could inspire global South nations from Brazil to India to build their own justice systems free from Western bias. Even the experts are baffled by this. Legal scholars in Cameroon and Dakar are calling it a game changer. But the risks are stark. Funding remains a hurdle. African nations like Congo offer support, but donor powers may demand influence, diluting the court's independence. Judges chosen by civil society face threats in a continent where power retaliates. The African Union's 2008 court, meant to try war crimes, falters under political pressure. Traore's court could follow if leaders like Ruto rally allies to resist. And what happens when the first indictment targets a sitting president? Will Africa unite or fracture under economic and diplomatic pressure? Critics, including Western diplomats, call it symbolic theater, warning of vendettas or bias. If the court fails to deliver impartial justice, it risks becoming another broken promise, deepening Africa's distrust in institutions. Hold on, the most important part is still coming. The best-case scenario sees the People's African Court thriving. By 2026, it could try its first case, perhaps against a corporation exploiting Congo's cobalt or a leader crushing protests. Transparent trials broadcast globally could restore faith in justice, with African voices, mothers, activists, scholars shaping verdicts. Kenya's protesters might find closure, their 70 lost lives honored by a system that listens. But the worst case looms: political sabotage, funding cuts, or violence against judges could stall the court. Ruto's defiance might inspire others, leaving Africa trapped in a cycle where power trumps justice. The world watches as Burkina Faso lays its foundation stone in September 2025 and Kenya buries its dead. Will Traore's court become a monument to hope or a relic of ambition? The answer depends on Africa's courage to confront its powerful without fear or foreign permission. Kenya's 2025 protests and Burkina Faso's bold vision have drawn a line in the sand. President William Ruto's defiance, 70 dead, 553 injured, and a refusal to face the ICC exposes a broken system where power trumps justice. His 2013 escape from ICC charges, followed by years of media crackdowns and protest suppression, shows a leader who believes he's untouchable. Meanwhile, Captain Ibrahim Traore's People's African Court offers hope, a court built on African soil designed to hold leaders, corporations, and foreign powers accountable. With support from Mali, Niger, and Congo, and cheers from Ghana to Dakar, it's a chance for Africa to redefine justice. But the road is treacherous. Funding, political sabotage, and threats to judges could derail it, just as Ruto's impunity threatens Kenya's democratic soul. The contrast is clear. One man hides behind sovereignty. Another builds a future where people's voices matter. This isn't just about Kenya or Burkina Faso. It's about whether Africa can trust itself to deliver justice when global systems fail. The 70 lives lost in Nairobi demand an answer. Will Traore's court become a beacon, or will it crumble like past promises? Your voice matters. Share what justice means to you. Do you believe Ruto should face trial? Can Traore's vision succeed? Comment below and let the world hear Africa's pulse. Like this video if it stirred you. Share it with someone who believes justice is possible. Subscribe for more stories of a continent fighting for its truth, because the next chapter is coming. And in the next video, I'll reveal what even the experts are afraid to say about Africa's fight for justice.